All right, last note before we shift into DAX demo mode, I want to lay out the common function categories. And most of these should look familiar to Excel users. These map pretty closely with Excel function categories, especially math and stats, logicals, text, and date and time functions. One area that is quite a bit different in DAX is the filter function section, which we'll dive into later in the section. But basically what we've got here in the math and stats category, your basic aggregation functions, your sum, max, min, average, count, etc., plus some interesting DAX formulas called iterators, which actually evaluate row by row. Sometimes those are called X functions because they all end in an X. Sum X, average X, rank X, max X, etc. And for Excel users, those work just like a sum product. More on that to come. Next up, we've got logicals, basically returning information about values in a given conditional expression. So these are all based around those if statements, if, and, or, not. There's a new one called switch, which is interesting. Then you've got very familiar text functions. These manipulate text strings, can also be used to control formats for things like dates, times, or numbers. And these should look very familiar as well. Concatenate or ampersand, left, mid, right. You've got capitalization rules like the ones we practiced in the query editor with upper, lower, proper, and then some useful options like substitute and trim as well. Now, filter functions, this is where things feel a little bit foreign and unfamiliar. These include lookup style functions based on related tables and table relationships in your model, and filtering functions to create more dynamic types of calculations. So the most common example of all is a formula called calculate, which we'll spend some time focusing on. The other ones that will really hit here are filter, all, and related, but tons of other options here as well. And then in the date and time category, you've got your basic date and time functions, as well as some advanced time intelligence operations. So your basic ones should look pretty familiar. Date diff, year frac, your component functions like year, month, day, or hour, minute, second. You've got volatile functions like today and now. And then time intelligence, this is really interesting. We'll do some cool demos there, like dates year to date, dates quarter to date, date add, and dates in period. These let you do some really interesting things like calculate rolling averages, year to date totals, and other date specific comparisons. So big caveat here, this that you're looking at here is not a comprehensive list. There are many other DAX functions, some of which are more advanced, some of which are more specialized. There's trigonometry functions, parent-child functions, info functions. So the ones that we're going to cover here are some of the most common and some of the most powerful, but this will not be a fully comprehensive review of DAX. The plan here is to get you started with the basics and hopefully give you a deep enough understanding that you can begin to explore some more complicated, more advanced scenarios on your own. So with that, buckle up, it's time to start writing some DAX.